As Russian forces were forced into a series of retreats in Ukraine, Prigozhin escalated his criticism.
Они пришли сюда добровольцами.
He complained that the army command was refusing to recognize the mercenaries' contribution to the war effort. In fact, he clashed with the president's close ally, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, and with the chief of the general staff of the Russian army, Valery Gerasimov, accusing them of starving Wagner ammunition while the group was losing thousands of men in the fight for Bakhmut in the east of Ukraine.
У нас нехватка боеприпасов 70%! Шойгу! Герасимов! Где боеприпасы? Посмотрите на них,
Right in the middle of the war against Ukraine, Prigozhin dared to challenge the Kremlin chief. The Kremlin steered clear of commenting on the escalating feud, but it was a row that shook Russia's leadership to its core. Prigozhin refused a defense ministry demand to bring all mercenary groups under its control. As the situation reached a boiling point, he dared to question the very goals of the war.
Война нужна была олигархам. Она нужна была тому клану, который сегодня фактически управляет Россией.
So, on the 23rd of June, Prigozhin announced a march for justice on the road to Moscow. Prigozhin led an armed mutiny against Russia's military leadership, occupying the command center in Rostov-on-Don. He shot down 2 military helicopters and a plane and killed up to 15 Russian soldiers. Putin called Prigozhin a traitor.
Мы не дадим этому повториться. Защитим и наш народ, и нашу государственность от любых угроз. В том числе от внутреннего предательства. А то, с чем мы столкнулись, это именно предательство. Непомерные амбиции и личные интересы привели к измене. К измене и своей стране, и своему народу, и тому делу, за которое бок о бок с другими нашими частями и подразделениями сражались и погибали бойцы и командиры группы «Вагнер».
This botched revolt was the final rift between Putin and Prigozhin. But there was no showdown. Instead, a deal was reached between Prigozhin and the Kremlin, mediated by the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko. As per the deal, Wagner mercenary force chief Yevgeny Prigozhin relocated to Belarus. The criminal cases against Prigozhin, which were registered on the 24th of June, were dropped. The deal also ensured that other Wagner troops didn't face any punitive action for the rebellion by Russia. After the deal, Wagner forces began to leave the Russian military facilities they had occupied under the rebellion. Ever since Prigozhin led a rebellious march on Moscow, he was described by observers as a dead man walking. Prigozhin made a lot of enemies in Moscow, most notably in the upper ranks of the Russian military, whose leaders he frequently and publicly criticized. In one of Putin's video messages, he called Prigozhin's march on Moscow a betrayal and a stab in the back.
И потому действия, которые раскалывают наше единство, это, по сути, отступничество от своего народа, от боевых товарищей, которые сражаются сейчас на фронте. Это удар в спину нашей стране и нашему народу.
Работаем. Температура плюс 50. Все как мы любим.
The Russian mercenary chief posted his first video address since leading a short-lived revolt in Russia. The video appeared to be shot in Africa.
Справедливость и счастье для африканских народов.
In the video, Prigozhin insisted he was recruiting for operations in Africa, while also inviting investors from Russia to put money in the Central African Republic, or CAR, through Russian House, a cultural center in the African country's capital. And on the 23rd of August, as Prigozhin was flying over the north of Moscow with other senior Wagner leaders, his private jet that had been flying between Moscow and St. Petersburg crashed and fell over Russia. 33 minutes into the flight, while over a kilometer south of the village of Kuzhinkino in the Tver region, the aircraft called Embraer Legacy rapidly lost altitude and contact. Wagner mercenary chief Yevgeny Prigozhin was confirmed to have died following DNA testing of the bodies found in the wreckage. But it was not only Prigozhin who perished in the incident. Dmitry Utkin, often described as the co-founder of the mercenary group and a shadowy figure whose call sign Wagner allegedly inspired the Russian private mercenary group's name, died alongside Prigozhin. The private jet was carrying 7 passengers and 3 crew members. All 10 people on board were killed. The bodies are said to have been recovered. Prigozhin's sudden death in a plane crash has sparked many conspiracy theories. His supporters claimed on pro-Wagner messaging app channels that the plane had been deliberately downed. Meanwhile, the US and Western officials have said the plane was probably brought down by an intentional explosion leading to it crashing into a field. Suspicions swiftly centered on Vladimir Putin, with the US saying it was very likely that he was the architect of the incident.
I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised.
Do you think Putin was believable?
There's not much that happens when Russia and Putin not behind.
But Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov flatly rejected the allegations.
Смотрите, сейчас, естественно, вокруг этой авиакатастрофы и вокруг трагической гибели пассажиров самолета, в том числе Евгения Пригожина, очень много спекуляций. Конечно же, на Западе все эти спекуляции подаются с известного угла. Все это ложь абсолютно. И здесь, конечно, нужно исключительно, освещая эту проблематику, основываться все-таки на фактах. Фактов пока немного, потому что их еще предстоит выяснить в ходе следственных действий, которые сейчас выполняют.
Amidst all these allegations, what's unclear is why were several high-ranking members of Wagner on the same flight? What was the purpose of their trip to St. Petersburg? And most importantly, how did the plane crash?
There are lots of conspiracy theories around Wagner's death. The main conspiracy theories is vented by the Western media, that somehow the president was involved in this. But there are no facts confirming these theories. There is a widespread theory in Russia that somehow Mr. Prigozhin is alive, that it was someone else who was on that plane. But there is no proof behind it. It's just conspiracy theories.